How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing tonight?
Good. How about you?
Doing good, doing good. Doing all right. Can't complain. All right, all right, the recording has been started. Wanted to follow up from last class. Did anyone, sorry, not entrepreneur mindset, but from marketing and branding, um, did anyone have any questions from the marketing and branding class? Good so far? Okay. Were you guys able to log onto the Google class to check out the additional documents?
No.
You have access to it? Or should I invite something?
Yeah. Yeah. I have actually.
Okay. Okay. So that's there for, even if you just go and save the links or download some of the files, that would be good because those are things, the marketing material specifically would, could apply whenever you're ready to do something. And then of those that are here, I know Brianna, you kind of have like a business idea. Gian, you too. Oh, did we lose somebody? Oh, just the other house. Maggie. All right, so I'm thinking, all right, Brianna, Gian, Maggie, you all three have like business ideas that you are pretty much like if you could launch it, you would launch it, right? And then um Anaya, remind me again. For your business idea, was it something you actually wanted to launch or something you were using as an example for the sake of the course?
It was an example, but I would do it.
Okay. And what was the business again that you modeled?
It was a online skincare business.
Online skincare business. Okay. So as an example, but hey, if you could do it, you would. All right. Just keeping that in mind because there's a couple different things. One, it'll kind of adjust just for you how you prepare your final presentation. So for advanced, you're actually going to do a walkthrough. It's going to be a bit more in depth, right? So for fundamentals, it's like a 60-second elevator pitch. For advanced, you have a bit more time. You prepare your deck, and then you're going to walk us through a little bit of how your business would operate, what you do, what it looks like. So some of you actually did some decks. I think Maggie, you did a deck for fundamentals, so you can build on that. But some things to think about, especially, I guess, for all of you, since even you said you would do it if you could. So advanced cash flow tonight, we're going to go over basically um, how do you think about the business when it comes to cash flow? Like what is cash flow, right? How do you balance a business book? How do you do inventory, things like that? So it's going to be a bit different from the personal finance that we had in fundamentals where we talked about credit and a bank account. This is really going to lean into that business side of it. So I'll go slower tonight and pause to make sure that everyone could take notes. And again, the content is in the Google Classroom. So the videos and mostly like the templates are in the Google Class. So you could go there, save the links, so that way you could refer back to them. Businesses are going to be more dependent on very exact cash flow, right? So like Gian, I think of you wanted to do trucking, right? Was it trucking or
Oh,
story
trucking.
moving?
Yeah.
Trucking, yeah. So like you need to track it. There's not a lot of room for error. For other businesses, you might have more room to where you could kind of be less strict. So, but either way, it's good to know. So we'll get going. All right. So I guess just a general question. Have you guys heard of the term cash flow when it comes to business? Who here has heard of that? that, Anaya, go ahead. What have you heard or what do you understand about cash flow?
It's the amount of income that a business makes over the time of the month, right?
Yeah, so that's definitely related to it. So the income the business makes each month. So that's a part of the cash flow. Yeah, definitely. All right, so we're gonna, was there a little thing I wanted on there? Oh, no. All right, so we're gonna dive a little deeper, right? So this video that I'm gonna show is gonna go over the main parts of cash flow. So definitely take notes. I'll pause the video at certain points to talk about each of the sections. But definitely take notes. And again, this you could also get from the Google class as well. So this is basically giving a very simple, clean example, right? Depending on your business and how it grows and the industry you're in, it could be more complicated, it could be less complicated. So this is just giving like a standard kind of like, okay, here's a basic example of cash flow and the different types of it.
Cash flow refers to the movement of cash into or out of an account, a business, or an investment. When cash inflows exceed outflows, this is generally considered to be a sign of good financial health, both for individuals and companies. Ed makes his living running Ed's Carpets. For Ed, cash flow is essential to the survival of his business as well as his personal finances. Having ample cash on hand ensures that Ed can pay his employees, his creditors, and himself on time, keeping the business afloat. The same goes for Ed. He needs enough cash in his personal bank account to pay for his house, his car, and other personal expenses. Whether we are talking about Ed or his business, there are generally three types of cash flows. 1. Operational cash flows refer to cash received.
All right, so I'm gonna pause it here so you guys have just a time to note this. So they're gonna go over three types of cash flows. The first one, operational cash flows, right? Cash received or spent as a result of a company's business activities. So it's going to go into an example of that right after this. So, but for now, even if in your notes you just put operational cash flows, that's fine, because it's something you could always Google and, it'll go into the same details. So first type of cash flows, operational cash flows.
Received or spent as a result of a company's business activities. For example, a business like Ed's Carpets brings in cash by selling carpets and sends cash out to pay employees and suppliers. Similarly, Ed pays himself a salary, providing cash flow to his personal account. Cash will flow out to pay for his expenses such as food and housing. 2. Investment cash flows.
Okay. So I'm going to backtrack real quick just to kind of summarize that the first one. So operational cash flows, right? So again, that was the, where's that slide? I missed it here. So the operational cash flow is the money in and out, right? As a result of the business activity. So what that's saying is this is the cash flow that's directly a result of what your business is doing, right? So if you're selling things, the money you made from that sale is the cash coming in, right? From the operational cash flows. And then you gotta typically pay for some things, right? So in Ed's case, he has to pay his employees, he has to pay suppliers. So to make the next batch of carpets, he has to buy more material, right? So that supply. So for some of you that like the online store, right, your operational cash flows would include, all right, you need to get more things to sell, whether you're getting the things raw and making it yourself, or you're buying it at a wholesale price and then you're selling it. For some of you that are doing more services, like your operational cash flows might mean like things like paying for gas, so like paying for the time to bid on something, but you get paid and then that money has to be spent on other business activities. And then of course there's personal expenses, right? Your car, your house, all of those things is money coming out of the business from the sales.
Investment cash flows refer to cash received or spent through investing activities, basically the purchasing and selling of assets that will help grow the business, or in the case of Ed, assets that will help increase his net worth. 3. Financing cash flows.
All right. So investment cash flows, that one was quick because it's pretty cut and dry, but what are some ways you guys think a business can invest its cash? So you made a good amount of sales, right? Now you have $100,000 in sales, right? What are some things that the business might do to with some of that money as an investment?
Now, can you repeat that again?
Yeah, I was saying that, can anyone think of any examples of an investment that a business might make? So something that the business is going to put money into that's going to make them more money. You pass. It's all good. So like one type of investment, which is actually very common, is something like a high yield savings account, right? So you might have touched on this in fundamentals for your personal cash, but businesses could also invest in different types of bank products where they get interest. So they call it different things on the business side, but essentially the business can take some of the cash, putting into a type of financial account with a bank that has good interest. That could also be things like stock purchase, right? So you can put the money into places where ideally it's gaining interest year over year, and that will grow the business's money. So investment cash flows could be something like that. Investment cash flows could also be investing in another business, right? So your business might make $100,000 and you might say, okay, we'll invest $10,000 in this new business. And in exchange for that $10,000 investment, we get 10% of all that new business's sales. So if that business actually becomes successful, that investment's not paying you back. So those are just two little examples of like things the business could do where you're putting the money somewhere and it's going to get you interest or a return on your investment. All right, so here's the third one.
Cash flows refer to cash received through debt or paid out as debt repayments.
So this is talking about, so when they say debt, they're talking about a loan. If your business gets a loan, a business loan, your business gets a business credit card, that's what they're talking about here. So pretty much whenever you get a credit card or you take out a loan, that's debt. So you'll hear that term a lot, like how much debt does your business have, right?
For a company, issuing stock, paying down debt, and repurchasing shares would count as part of financing cash flows. For Ed, financing cash flows include any cash coming from loans or other types of debt, as well as payments going to pay down debts. If Ed's business comes up short on cash and is unable to pay its obligations, it will experience a cash flow crunch. To avoid insolvency, Ed will have to arrange some type of financing or bridge loan. A similar situation in Ed's personal accounts would also have disastrous effects that could lead to personal bankruptcy if the cash flow crunch persisted. For this reason, it is important that businesses and individuals manage their cash flow carefully and set aside emergency reserves to cushion any unexpected events.
Okay. So that cash flow crunch you're talking about, so one way or the other, if you're not selling enough product, right? But let's say you took out a $5,000 loan to buy product for your business, right? And you launch your business. When you take out a loan, they want a certain amount of money every single month. So they might say, oh, you know what? Pay us $100 a month over 3 years. Cool. Now, if you're unable to pay that $100 a month, That's what they're talking about, right? Like you're in a cash flow crunch because you have this obligation, you have this bill as a business. If you don't sell enough product, then your business can't pay it. So that's one example. And on the other side too, similarly, they were talking about if you can't pay yourself, right? So if your business isn't making enough money and you can't pay yourself, then that's also a problem too if you have responsibilities that you're for. So depending on how much you leverage your personal assets or yourself, bankruptcy could happen, but that's really, kind of like the worst case scenario. A lot of people just close the business and they go about their way. But they did have a good point about having a reserve. It's very good as a business to have a reserve. So, yep, good, John.
Can you go back to the second type? Because I missed it. Of cash flow.
Oh, that's the investment cash flows. That's the investment cash flow. So this is just an overview, and we're gonna go deeper tonight as we go through. But we're gonna go. All right. So the investment cash flow, Gian, was what I was saying, where the business can put money into something like a type of bank product. Like banks have different types of savings accounts, and different kind of offerings where a business could put their money and gain interest on that. Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Cash flow refers to the movement of cash into or out.
All right. So these couple of slides just kind of summarize cash flow represents the movement of money in and out of your business. Just the measurement of the cash that comes into and out of your business in a particular period of time. So basically what you were saying, Anaya, in that regard. All right. So where are my note takers at? What are the three types of cash flows?
So the first one is operational cash flows. The second one is investment cash flows, and the third one is investment cash flows.
No, the second one is an investment. And what was the third one?
Investment. Wait. Huh? The second and third one I have as both investment cash flows.
All right, somebody help them out. What's the third one? Nobody got you on the third one? The third one was the financing cash flows. So that's you taking out a loan, you getting a business credit card. So these are the three general types of cash flows for business. When you're starting up, there's a couple different ways to start your business. Some people, what's most important though is having that business plan that we went over in fundamentals, because your business plan is going to help you realize what's real, right? When you do your business plan and you do your SWOT analysis and you put together what you're actually going to do as a business, that helps you validate what's real. So it's good to be realistic with it, so that way you're not setting yourself up for failure. So tonight we're going to go into a bit more on like pricing and things like that. And there's a quote here. A wise person once said, "Revenue is vanity. profit is sanity, cash is reality. Who understands the difference between what we define as revenue and what we define as profit? Can anyone speak to that? And if not, just put an N in the chat.
Can you repeat the question?
What's the difference between revenue and profit? Go ahead, Brianna.
Okay, sorry for the wait. Revenue is like the amount of like money gained from like the sale of goods or whatever service or company like products you're selling. But the profit you get is after all the expenses, all the stuff that you have to pay back. So it's basically what you're left over. So yeah.
Yep, perfect. Yeah, so a company might say, man, we had a revenue of $5 million this month. And then you might say, okay, what's your profit? I might say negative $100,000, right? So understanding the cash flow is always very, very important. Because yeah, if you spent more money than you actually had, but you're making money, it kind of washes out. So you always want to understand when you're building up your business plan, what's your actual profit that you're aiming to get at. We'll talk about that a little bit more tonight too. All right, so here's some steps. Basically, the basic steps here for managing a cash flow, right? So bookkeeping is literally you are tracking, just tracking what is your business, what are you spending money on, right? So yeah, like the single best way to understand all financial transactions for your business, you can't do the rest of these steps without it. So we're gonna go over proper bookkeeping. And two, generating a cash flow statement. So that's you going through either using something like QuickBooks. QuickBooks is a tool that a lot of people use to track the cash flow and generate statements, or you could get an accountant. So basically, that's literally tracking every single charge and spend, every single dollar you made, and categorizing that, right? So how much money did you need to spend on building a website? How much money did you need to spend on travel? How much money did you need to spend on, all the different things that your business may need versus how much money you're making, right? So you can't make changes to your business accurately if you don't have these numbers. Any questions on that? Is everyone kind of clear on like bookkeeping and accounting or the concept of it? I know we're just touching on it, but any questions about that? All right. So here's an example of what a cash flow statement could look like. Right, so showing the net income of 12 grand. So the net, usually when you say net, that's like after expenses. They have something in there called depreciation. Depreciation is basically, when you buy equipment, that's something that you could account for with the equipment. Accounts payable, money coming in, and then subtractions. Sorry, accounts payable is kind of like money that's owed to you. So like if you have a subscription that people sign up for your business or whatever the case is, or you invoice clients, right? You sent them, hey, service is completed, here's your bill for $100, right? That's payables. Then you have receivables and inventory. So these are outgoing, That's outgoing spending. So typically in accounting, the money that's going out of your business is in parentheses. And also in red, and just makes it easier for you to see. Purchasing equipment, $2,000, notes payable, $7,000. So this is just an example. So line by line. So your business doesn't have to have all of these lines. It might be way more simpler when you start. But this is just like one example of a cash flow statement for the month. Are you guys able to see it? Like, I don't know if it's showing up at a good size for you guys. Okay.
Yeah.
And there's a document on the Google class that should have the same exact thing on there, or something very similar. All right. So, all right. Just warming you guys up. All right. So, all right, there's gonna be one more video. This one's gonna go a little bit into the cash flow statements. So, again, I'll pause it, and we're actually not gonna watch the whole video, but we'll go through some of this video and we'll talk about it.
Hey, Aiden from Bench Accounting here. Today we're going to talk about cash flow statements. Cash flow is the lifeblood of every business. Even fancy venture-backed startups live or die by their cash flow. And if you're asking, how do you measure cash flow? The answer is with a cash flow statement. In this video, we'll walk you through everything you need to know about cash flow. We'll share a few handy tips on how you can better manage your cash flow, how to create a statement, and how to use your cash flow statement to make smart decisions with your money. So, what is it? Cash flow is a measurement of how much money comes in and out of your business and where it comes from and goes to. When you have positive cash flow, you have more cash coming into your business than you have leaving it, so you can pay your bills and cover some other expenses. When you have negative cash flow, you're spending more than you're making, so you will run out of money to make those payments. Okay, so why does it matter? Well, if your cash flow isn't healthy, you could go out of business, even if you're making more money than you're spending overall. How does that work? Let's say you run a small web design agency. You have 3 full-time employees. They each get paid $2,500 every 2 weeks. You just signed a huge contract to redesign the website for Global Megacorp Inc., which means this year your revenue is going to double compared to last year. The only problem is you're going to run out of cash in 4 months, and your first payday from Global Megacorp isn't for another 6 months, which means you won't be able to pay your employees for 2 months, which means they're going to quit and your agency will have to shut down unless you can scrounge a loan. Theoretically, your revenue is going to double and your expenses are going to stay the same. That's great. The problem is that revenue is going to come later than you need it. All
right, I'll pause there. So this is a little different from the last video. Did everyone understand the example she gave about getting that new account, but the first payment not coming in time?
Yes.
Cool. All right, so yeah, depending on the type of businesses you in, things like terms, payment terms is going to be very important to understand. Oh, I did not mean to restart it. My bad.
It's going to double and your expenses are going to stay the same. That's great. The problem is that revenue is going to come later than you need it. That is a cash flow problem, and a cash flow statement can help keep you out of trouble. But what is a cash flow statement exactly? It's a summary of how cash moved in and out of your business during a specific period. Let's see what that looks like. A cash flow statement is made up of 3 sections: cash flow from operations, cash flow from investing, and cash flow from financing. At the bottom, you get the total summary of cash flows for that time period. Each section shows how much cash entered and left your business, so you can see at a glance how healthy your cash flow was. If you're looking for a cash flow statement to use or look at, we've got that covered. Download our template in the description below. All right, let's take a look at how our cash flow template works.
Okay. So this template is actually on the Google Classroom as well. Just want to give you guys that other look at it too. Depending on the type of business you're going to be doing, sometimes you want to be aware of things like payment terms. And there's a term that's in the business when you're working with larger businesses too. Sometimes they want to take long to pay, so you might get a big business signed on and they're like, oh yeah, we'll pay you in 90 days, right? So some things to think about. Now, let's say you're in business and yeah, they're like, yeah, we're gonna pay you a bunch of money, but in 90 days. What are some options? What can you do to kind of bridge that gap while you're waiting on this business to pay you, or this large client to pay you, to pay your business? Again, that's what options do you have to cover your costs while you're waiting for a client to pay you?
You can make like a different like stream of cash, so you can cover your cash flow. Like find like a new job to cover all your expenses.
Okay. I mean, but if they're gonna pay you in 3 months, right? Let's say, John, you got this huge, you got your truck, you're ready to go, and they're like, John, well, we're gonna pay you $100,000, but not until 3 months from now. Would you really want to get another job for 3 months? What other options might you consider? Maggie said down payment. You meant asking them for a down payment? Like a deposit? Yeah, that's actually a very good idea, right? So, you could always negotiate, right? So you could say, hey, that's cool. I need some kind of deposit, right? To hold me over up until that point. Another option though, the third kind of cash flow is financing, right? So you might want to take out a small business loan, right? You might want to do a small business loan, especially since, let's say, you signed this contract, you have a contractual agreement saying the money is coming, it's just not coming soon enough. So you might do a small business loan to kind of cover your expenses until that comes. Another thing you could consider is a business credit card. So these are things you would do financing when you have an agreement, it's kind of solidified, but it's just not ready yet. It's another option. So yeah, looking at your balance statement helps you to analyze your cash flow, understand how your money is moving in and out of your business. Also, figuring out whether you need to increase cash flow. So when you're looking at your cash flow statement, right, and you're tracking it into sections of operations, income, and finance, you can then tweak and say like, I need to have more here instead of there, or I need to find a way to do more of this thing that's making me good money, but not a lot of people are taking part in it. So for you, Brianna, with the jewelry, you might have, I don't know, let's say you buy 1,000 pieces of these earrings that are blue, and you only got 20 other earrings and they're like red, and those 20 sold out as soon as you posted them up. You have these other ones that are just sitting there, right? You're looking at the cash flow, you're like, okay, people need more of these, right? Or you might be buying from different manufacturers, right? And one is charging you 25 cents per, and another one's charging you 50 cents, but the ones that's 50 cents to order actually sell better. So you might say, okay, even though it costs more, maybe I raise my price up a little bit and keep ordering this one because it actually sells better. The ones that I got for 25 cents each don't sell that well. So these are things that you would look at when you're analyzing your cash flow. So yeah, increase, cut, all these things. Because if you don't have it in writing to track each part of your cash flow, you're just guessing, right? And again, if you have a very simple business, sometimes it works. If it's super, super simple, maybe you'll be all right. But it's hard to keep track of things month over month over month all in your head. So that's one of the primary things too. You definitely want to track it so that you can track your spending and your income. All right. So here's the first activity. Oh, sorry. Let me go back. So this is kind of like what do you call it? Blanking on the word, but like role playing, right? So you're the owner of a t-shirt business, right? And the current way your business is set up, you guys could take notes here or write it down. The current way your business is set up, it costs you $5 to buy a t-shirt, right? For each t-shirt that you buy, $100 to get your website up to sell your t-shirts. You're doing $50 a month in advertising. And you scrounged up $200 to start doing everything, right? So the $200 is what you have to do all these things, right? Let's assume you sell 50 t-shirts in your first month, right? And you were charging $6 each. Would you have a positive or negative cash flow? So you could take a couple of minutes just to write this all out and do the calculation to just come back and say, like, would you have a positive or negative cash flow? Yes, it's a little bit of accounting. Okay, Maggie said negative. All right. Brianna, looked like you agreed.
Yeah, I think it's a negative cash flow.
Okay.
I would say negative. So
Okay. John, what do you think? So let me so if it costs you, if you sold 50 shirts, right, and they cost you $5 a shirt, right? So that literally is saying that you spent you'd have had to spend $250 to get those shirts, right? So then at $6 a shirt, you made $300, right? But you're at 250 plus the 100, you're at 350 already. Plus $50 for advertising, you're at 400, right? So you're definitely in the negative here. And that's something that this is a simple example, but that's the one way a cash flow statement will help. So what are some things you could do, right? So looking at the scenario, what could you do? What could you change in this formula to be positive in your cash flow? Yeah, Brianna.
You need to price the t-shirts way higher. Definitely.
Yes. Selling it too cheap. So there's a certain formula that when you're selling goods, like you're paying to buy something, you're buying something or a material and then you're selling it at a higher price. Does anyone know the multiplier that is like a standard? Like how many times should you multiply the cost to get your sales price?
10.
Times 10.
I mean,
Anai is doing luxury. No, it's true. You depending on the brand, Amanaya, times 10 isn't bad. But the standard is basically like the bare minimum is 3. So, and the reason is this. So if it costs you $5, right, and you're charging 15 to sell each one, that pays for that shirt, right? That pays for the $5 you spent to buy that t-shirt in this example. It pays for you to buy another t-shirt, and then $5 will be profit, right? That's like, that could stay with you. So to ask the question better, I guess I should have framed it better. The minimal amount you want to multiply things by, ideally, is by 3. So whatever it costs you to get something, you want to multiply it by 3. Anaya, what's a situation where you would do 10x on your, like, how does that come together? You think, like, what would validate if the t-shirt costs you 5 and you're charging 50 for it?
The value of the product as it like goes up as you sell more.
Yeah, so what you're getting at, that's getting into the brand value, the quality that's perceived by your customers, right? So there's things you can do, going back to the example that I gave Brianna, where maybe she could buy some jewelry at 25 cents each, but they don't sell that well. It might be a quality issue. Like the 25-cent ones just are horrible, where the 50-cent ones, it's like people are like, okay, I like these, right? They're sturdy, they're good, they don't fade. So yeah, there's a mixture in there in making your money back, but also in how you do your customer service. You can exude a certain brand quality. Brianna?
Could you also raise the price due to like high demand or something?
Absolutely. So if you go on Amazon or eBay, you will notice certain trends that when things are in high demand, so that's a theory in business called supply and demand. That's a literal thing that you could look up. So literally called supply and demand. When there's little supply and high demand, the price goes up, right? When there's a large supply, meaning anyone could get this anytime, eyes closed, right? Large supply, even if it's a high demand, the price is low because the supply is so large. So low supply, high demand usually equals higher prices. Large supply, low demand, or any demand is going to be lower prices. What's an example that you guys could think of where there's low supply, high demand, and the price on something goes up?
At one point, it was like ketchup and like tomatoes.
So a shortage causes the price to go up. Yeah, that happens. I was thinking sneakers. If you get a pair of sneakers that was not widely sold, like a limited edition, you can literally pay retail for it. Let's say Jordans at $210 or $190, but you could then turn around and sell them. So this is a real example. I actually bought a pair of Jordans I entered a draw and I actually won the draw in the Nike sneakers app. I paid retail. I paid $190 for them, right? So I got these limited edition Jordans. And at the time, I was just so like shocked at how much they were selling for. I sold them. I regret it now. I wish I would have kept them because they were actually really cool. Jordan 6s in blue, my favorite color. They sold for $1,030. And I was just like, I'm not gonna pass up $900. So it was limited supply, right? Once the draw happened, it happened. Like Nike was not selling those sneakers anywhere, any place again. So that's an example of supply and demand. And in your services, that could be a thing too. So what businesses do typically is, what you do well is, if you craft a quality service or quality product, right? Now people are trying to get you know, get what you're offering, right? You can then set your price because there's one of you or there's one of your business, right? So that's where setting your business apart comes into play, like differentiating your business. That's where branding comes into play, and quality control. All right. So yeah, so speeding up accounts receivable. This kind of speaks to what I was saying about what happens if you have a good contract, but it's going to take a while for them to start paying you, right? So you could ask people to, you know, pay a deposit, pay earlier, adjust the timeline. But there's other things. When you sell things online, there's different ways to receive the payments, whether it's credit card, whether it's debit card, right? So credit card payments typically hit a lot quicker than if someone pays with their debit card sometimes. So it depends on those things, but there's things you can look at to speed up how quickly you're able to collect your cash. Yeah, and then rinse and repeat, meaning, you know, this is a process you want to look into every single month. You want to analyze your statements and look at what's happening so you understand your cash flow. And sooner than later, you want to get a good accountant. You want to get a good accountant because if your business is successful, you're just honestly not going to have the time to really go through your cash flow all the time. So that's where having an accountant or a certified, you know, accountant, aka certified professional accountant, will come into play. Any questions with what we covered so far? Cash flow, positive, 3 types, reasons why. All right, so we are going to take a 10-minute break. And then in the last hour, we'll start going through some other facets of applying, I guess, what we learned in the first half here. Cool, so yeah, see you guys at we'll say 7:33. John, you had a question?
Also, so what is positive cash flow and negative cash flow? Cash flow.
So positive cash flow means that you're making money basically, right? So you sold your products, you were able to pay your expenses, and you had money left over. So that's a good thing. Negative cash flow is you sold your products, like that t-shirt example that I gave earlier. You sold your products, but you actually are still in a hole. You didn't make money. You lost money, or you're losing money. So that's a negative cash flow. Cool.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, see you guys in a bit.
No days off. Whoa there, big fella, don't try it. Get that corn on my face, you know I'm on a diet. And I'm treating all of your life like United. That just ain't flying.
And I don't know if it's just me, but I can't hear you at all. Is it just me?
No, I can't hear either.
I can't hear anything either.
Okay, I was like, why is it so quiet? We still can't hear you. Might have to reset your or look at your audio settings for your Bluetooth.
Okay, how about now?
Yep, we can hear you now.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that. So I just did a brief introduction. There's a book called Rich Dads, right? So this author, I'm blanking on his name. He talks about the cash flow quadrant. So it's just a way to kind of think about the different ways that you as an individual can have a cash flow, right? So this is showing the cash flow via LeBron James, right? So one quadrant of his cash flow is as an employee, right? So when you're an employee, you are getting paid, right, by a business. You know, you're doing a job, you're getting paid. As a business owner, right, you literally get the residual income or the net profit, right, from the business that you own. And then self-employed is similar to business owner, but it's self-employed. It could be something like consulting, you know, it could be things that you're doing as a service to generate revenue. And then another thing is as an investor, right? So basically, you know, to be going to it a bit. Yes, thank you, Missy. Robert Kiyosaki is the author, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So that employee, you know, you're trading your time for money, right? And it could say it's true for many of these quadrants, time for money, right? But literally, the first jobs you get are typically hourly jobs, right? So for every hour, they'll pay you this amount of money, right? For an athlete, you can only be an employee as long as you can perform, right? So you hurt your knee, that's it for most athletes. Depending on the sport though, like basketball, they are a bit more forgiving in basketball. You can have a year off while you rehab, you know, if they see your potential still and you get better and come back. Other sports like football, football is a bit more cut, you know, a bit more cutthroat. You hurt your knee, they're kind of like, all right, you're out. Have a nice life. So yeah, so as he will not be an employee forever, it's good that he leveraged his play on and off the court. Just a random fact question here or pop question here. On average, the average athlete, let's say how many years after they retire are they still wealthy on average? Does anybody know or heard of this?
3 years.
Yeah, about 3 years. And depending on the sport and how much they got paid, maybe 5. So why do you think, you know, these individuals over the course of their careers might be 10 years and they might have made $50 million in those 10 years. Why do you think 3 years after that, they're broke?
Do you know how
Be-
to save their money?
Johnson, he gets the answer. You must have heard it somewhere. Yes, they don't know how to save. And I think someone else is going to say something.
They don't know how to invest.
And that's a big one. Saving and investing, both of them, when you get that kind of money, right? If you were to even just take 5 million out of your 30 and put it into some kind of investment vehicle, right? You could live off of that. But Another thing is living above your means, right? So when you're looking at cash flow, even in your personal day-to-day life, you can look at, all right, how much cash do I have coming in? And then how many bills or expenses am I committing to? Unfortunately, a lot of athletes, especially now, they're going into the league out of high school. Even if they went to college, they might not have gotten this wonderful cash flow class to understand, hey, I need to make sure things balance out. I need to make sure that I have more money than my expenses. So the other thing is don't live above your means, right? So if you're living above your means, that means you have negative cash flow in your life. So similar for a business, negative cash flow is bad for you as an individual too. So you definitely don't want to live above your means. All right, so as a business owner, you own a system that works for you, right? So LeBron James, who here has heard of Spring Hill Company? I don't know if Spring Hill Company makes content for for our younger individuals here. Not that it's crazy, it's just like, HBO type of content. Um, so yeah, I mean, Spring Hill Company is a production company, marketing, and yeah, they have a nice little workforce. They've dabbled in television shows, they dabbled in movies, right? So it's a whole system that he has while he's still playing basketball. But this system, this business, Spring Hill Company, is generating revenue, right? So if for whatever reason he was not able to play basketball anymore, he has this business that's generating revenue. So self-employed, you own a job, right? Um, so you own a job, and the amount of active work you do determines your income, right? LeBron James is employed by his own entity when you think about it from the standpoint of his work as an endorser, a brand ambassador, right? Whether it's a speaking engagement, an actor, personal work, his income is dependent on his activity, right? So someone's like, Anaya, please come speak over here. We're going to give you $1,000, right? And that's a thing, right? Like you all could be ambassadors, you all could be speakers at conferences, events, places where you're getting paid because of your expertise. And yeah, so yeah, that's a self-employment thing. So it's not necessarily a whole system. It's really yourself. Is you are the business, and we all know about the endorsements, right? He's endorsed by Nike, and he had different brand ambassador deals. And for many athletes, especially like LeBron, those deals can be sometimes worth more than their actual NBA salary. Investor. So it's what you're speaking of, Anaya. Your own investments. You own investments to let your money work for you. So LeBron's an active investor, made a couple good investments, such as Liverpool Football Club. Does anyone know what Liverpool Football Club is? Maggie putting down. So outside of the United States, football is what we call soccer, and Liverpool is a soccer team over in the UK. I believe it's the UK one, unless there's another one in the US, but I believe it's the UK one. And then Blaze Pizza, there's actually a Blaze Pizza in Jersey. I mean, I forgot that he invested in this. So he took the opportunity, right, and saw this business and said, I'll invest in it at this stage, right? So investing in businesses is also a good thing if you believe that business can grow. And then you're a shareholder. Does anyone know how, let's say you had the opportunity to invest in a business, how would you make money if that business becomes successful? If you're an investor, how does an investor make money in a business?
By having a share in the company.
Yeah, you get a share in the company. You could also ask for royalties depending on the type of business it is. So you could say something like, for every dollar you make, I get 5 cents, right? So there's also royalty deals as well. See, Morgan says she thinks there's a Blaze pizza in Columbus. Okay. Yes. Who here watches Shark Tank? Or watched, seen an episode, one episode. Brown has seen an episode. Mag. All right. So yeah, Mr. Wonderful always comes with the royalty option, but a lot of times his royalties are pretty high and would potentially create a negative cash flow for the entrepreneur. So yeah, so these are the 4 ways to produce income. Now, we're not all LeBron James, but these are some valid ways that we can consider. One person that I follow, his name is Storm Leroy. He talked about the employee to entrepreneur relationship, right? And he put it this way: think of a job, right? A 9 to 5, working wherever, Starbucks, wherever, McDonald's. Think of your first job as your first business partner, right? You're giving this job your time, they're giving you cash, right? So understanding what you know now about cash flow, what you learned in fundamentals about budgeting, right? This first job could be your first investor, could be your first, partner to help you save the money you need to start your own business. So that was one thought that I heard a couple of years ago, and I was like, I really like that. My 9 to 5 is my business partner, right? Not only that, depending on the type of job you get, you can get benefits, right? So it might cover your healthcare costs. For now, you guys probably don't have to worry about that, but 10 years from now, you're gonna need to be concerned about healthcare. And also, some jobs have 401ks. So 401k is an investment tool that some employers offer to their employees. So that it basically it allows you to buy stock in like a bundle. Well, nowadays you have like Stash app, but under a company that has a 401k, some of them do what they call 401k matching, right? So if you work for Apple, if you work at the Apple store, Apple matches your 401k contribution, I think by up to 6% or something like that. So that's a good opportunity too with the 9 to 5 that has 401k matching. So you can be an employee there, an investor with your 401k, and then these funds could be used to start your own business venture. Any questions about the cash flow quadrant? Pretty good. All right. I wanted to do one other thing here. Pull this up. But while I'm pulling something up, for those of you that were, I guess for anyone, like understanding cash flow now, how does this impact the way you were thinking about your first business venture? Like you thinking about what it will cost to get materials, or the ratio of cost to your sales? Like what kind of thoughts you guys have so far? Oh, who's thinking about it at all? Dad, Brianna.
Well, you made mention, like you gave an example about mine. Like if one is like 25 cents for jewelry or 50, but the 50 is better, like 50 cents, but it's better, like it's selling better. Like it tells me that I don't really need to go maybe that cheap. Maybe I can go for
Mhm.
quality over just saving money. And also profit, like how much I sell it for is very important. Like the example with the shirts, that definitely needed to be a margin that's way more higher to be able to sell. You can't just sell it for you can't just have buy it for $5 and just sell it for 6. So something like that. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah. Any other thoughts? Leon, is that you, Mr. Chase?
Yeah, I want to ask a question. So would you say quantity is better or profit? Like selling more products or just making a profit off of one item? What would you say is more important?
I think it depends. If the ratio of your sales is dependent on quantity, meaning the more you sell, the more you make, and then you have what's called a break even, then in that kind of scenario is quantity. But if the type of business you have, you have an opportunity to focus on one thing and do very well with that one thing, then you might want to go with that one sale that might net you a lot of money. So it might be like one client is like, hey, we want all of your time and we're going to pay you $200,000 for this year just to be dedicated towards us, right? Be our sole supplier, let's say. Then you might go with that.
Yeah, I agree. I think what you said is important. It's more so like knowing when to do that. I guess like diversify, right? So if you're at an event where you have a lot of merchandise and you try, and I guess the idea is like the vendor wants to know or their supplier wants to know if you can sell the product. Sometimes you see people, they spend a lot more time trying to make profit at an event where they can sell a lot more rather than, like you mentioned, it is like a one opportunity where it's just they using you exclusively. Then you can kind of change that where you're not selling it as you're not selling your product as cheaper, or you're not worrying about the
Mhm.
quantity. You know what I mean? So I think it's important to know when to do that, how to diversify, to keep yourself, uh, I guess more accessible, right? In a sense where a person see that, this person is valuable. But I think vendors, they're looking to see, can this person sell a lot of product, at one time, rather than, okay, he's trying to make, extra $5, but you still got 100, 100 products in inventory that you haven't moved yet. So I guess knowing when to do the difference, I guess that's important too.
Yeah. And for I think most of the businesses that the students have, you guys are going to be dealing with inventory, right? So what Leon's referring to in terms of inventory is, you know, there needs to be a good balance of inventory. Like when you're buying more to sell, it's very important because it's like you don't want to have 1,000 products and you're only selling 5 for the month, but you also don't want to have 5 and then you have sales people trying to buy 1,000, but you only have 5. So there's a balance that needs to be there. So just these quick slides here. This is one of the links that I have in the Google class. So it has these 6 steps, right? So one is learning your cash flow cycle. This kind of speaks to what Leon was talking about, right? So understanding like what is your actual cycle? Like how and when should you be buying more inventory, right? Are you selling 5 products a week or 500 products a week? What's the demand? Has it changed? Has it gone up or down, right? So that's very, very, very important to understand what your cash flow cycle is, because that's going to help you optimize your profits, and also pay your expenses on time. Urge your customers to pay on time. So we kind of touched on that already. But another thing that people have if customers don't pay on time, let's say you know, if you're selling product, it's probably not an issue. But if you're providing a service like trucking, you might have a late fee. You might say, okay, you know, the money's due in 30 days, but if it's beyond that, then there's a, you know, 15% late fee, right? Having something like that kind of gives people a little fire to pay on time. Or what some people do, when you have kind of a term-based payment, is you say, if you pay early, I'll discount it, right? So the bill is $10,000, but if you pay me inside of 30 days, you know what, just give me $8,000 and we're good. So there's also that. So different ways to urge your customers to pay on time. When you're dealing with inventory though, jewelry products, and Maggie, you're doing spa, right? That was your business?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's not necessarily inventory, it's more service based. So paying on time is typically the day of, right? So that's usually pretty straightforward. The benefit is you don't have to deal with inventory. There's a slight benefit there, but you do have to pay employees on time. You have to pay for services. So there's other things to consider. For those that do have inventory, the goal is speed, right? You want to turn over the inventory as quickly as possible. That's why you see a lot of stores have sales all the time, every day, even though they tell you it's the last sale, final sale. The sale passes, and then next week, guess what? There's another sale. So inventory-based businesses are trying to move what they get as fast as possible. So Bath and Body gets let's say one store, they get like box. I used to work there. That was one of my first jobs. You get boxes and boxes and boxes of soaps and lotions and whatnot. The goal is to sell as many of those as possible every single day. We want to get rid of it so we can get more in, right? So that was also speaking towards Leon's question. Maggie, you mentioned negotiating with the vendors and customers, right? So yeah, definitely want to negotiate, right? And you want to do this at every single opportunity possible, right? So you got your first building lease, Maggie, you open your spa, great. They're charging you 10 grand a month, great. You're like, hey, things are going good. How about, you know, we keep it at 10 grand a month for 3 years as opposed to raising it every single year, right? You have inventory. You want to think about, hey, how can I keep my costs down, right? So there's quality and cost. So sometimes it's talking to your vendors and say, hey, if I purchased 5,000 pieces of whatever I need from you in one go, could you discount them at 2 cents each, right? So always negotiate in every turn of your business. All right, so invoice financing, right? So write this down, invoice financing. You could look it up later. So for those of you that are going to be selling product or thinking about selling product, right? Financing is a way, so taking out a loan or getting a business credit card, it's a way where you can actually, you know, bridge the cash flow gap sometimes. And instead of, let's say, paying cash for your invoice, instead of paying cash up front, you could do a loan, and then that loan spreads out the amount of cash you have to put out at one time, right? So say you need something and it's $50,000. If you take $50,000 out of your cash, that cash is completely gone, right? It's now just gone to getting this thing. But what if you took out a $50,000 loan and you're paying $300 a month, right? So it's just a different way to look at how your business spends. So financing could be a very powerful tool. You just want to make sure it's balanced. You want to make sure that your business is making enough money to pay that off in time, and ideally early, right? So you could take out a $50,000 business loan to get your inventory fulfilled or to get a building, you know, like whatever you need. But you want to make sure that you repay everything plus interest, and make sure that the rates are favorable. Some things to consider with financing too is the type of financing you're getting. Some business financing actually has early repayment penalties. So what that means is if some business loans, they might say, okay, you have 24 months to pay this loan back. And it's this amount of interest per month, right? Let's say it's 5% per month. If you pay them back early, and they have an early repayment penalty, they're going to charge you to say you still need to pay all this interest, right? Because that's how they were going to make their profit. Other loans, they have no early repayment penalties, so that might mean you take out a $50 loan, you have 24 months to pay it back, but you pay it back in 12 months, and you avoid that interest you would have had to pay for the other 12 months. So always be aware of that. Always be aware if there are any early repayment penalties on loans. All right. I talk about cash flow loans. So I basically short-term loans that are high interest or lines of credits. Yeah, they say definitely don't rely on cash flow loans like rent and payroll might be something to increase revenue. So the example they give here is like a marketing campaign or piece of new equipment, right? So a short-term loan has a very high interest typically. And the reason is they want to incentivize you to pay that back as soon as possible. So for Gian, maybe, he gets a contract and they're like, oh, you need a bigger truck though. You get this bigger truck and the deal is signed. So now he's like, oh man, I got a little box truck. Now I need to get a big truck, right? So he might do something like a short-term loan because he has a contract on the line. And they're agreeing that, hey, we'll give you the job if you have this type of equipment. And unfortunately, Gian got cut off, so you just missed that example. But Brianna and Anaya, you guys looking into potential retail businesses, if you go from being an independent retailer, you're selling your jewelry, you're selling your products, and then Target is like, hey, we love your product. We want your product in all our Target stores. Guess what? You have to figure out how you're going to get enough product made to be in a bunch of Target stores, right? So you're going to need a loan. You're going to need some kind of financing because you'll be going from getting just enough product to fulfill your website orders or something like that to Target's like, nah, we want you in 50 stores in 4 months, right? And each store you need to have, 1,000 items, right? Whatever it may be. So a lot of entrepreneurs have gone through that situation where they have a product that they were selling online, door to door, however, and then a retailer comes along and they're like, yeah, we'll put your product in our stores. We love it, but we need you to have 100,000 of these items. So that's a situation where, let's say you sign with Target and like, yeah, we'll give you $1.5 million up front, and then we'll pay you a residual on the back end. So now you would take out a loan to manufacture said items, knowing that in 3 months or 6 months, Target's going to cut you a big check. So a couple different examples of how small businesses could manage cash flow. Any question on like any of these? I know these might be new terms or thoughts here.
This is not related, but I wanted to know what's the importance of having an LLC?
That is definitely related. Okay, so LLC, a limited liability corporation. The first thing about that is it separates the business reliability from you being liable, right? If you have an LLC and someone has an issue with the product, let's say for whatever reason, they got a rash on their face from a product from your business, right? If you do not have an LLC and Anaya sold me that product, I'm going to try to sue Anaya because she sold me this product and I got a rash, right? But if you have the LLC structure, they're suing the LLC, right? This business sold me this product. So That's one of the things, is literally the liability aspect. And then the other thing is, having an LLC gives you the opportunity to separate your finances. So when you have an LLC, you get what's called an employee number, EIN, from the IRS. So you can get a business credit card, and the business credit card, let's say from Amex, won't be on your personal credit history. So if the business credit card, you have to keep using it to buy inventory and products and stuff like that, and you kind of maxed it out, the business credit card from Amex, that as long as you're still paying it, that credit usage won't even show up on your personal credit history. So the LLC gives you the ability to kind of separate your business spending, your business expenses, separate from your personal life. So what that does is, your personal credit score ideally should be good, right? Because you're doing the business through your business credit cards and business loans and things like that. So there's liability, there's financials being separated, and then tax benefits. When you have an LLC, you're able to do what they call write-offs. Have you heard of that? Doing like business write-offs?
No, I don't think so. Is it related to taxes?
So
No.
business write-off is, so every year, if you're working, if you're employed, if you have a business, you need to pay taxes, a certain amount of taxes. When you have an LLC, any expense that the business has is called a write-off. So what that means is, you're telling the government, hey, although I made $100,000, I had to spend $50,000 on this business. So that was office space, a car that I use for business, cell phone bills, inventory. You add up all the things that the business had to pay for, everything that was an expense. And so now, if you made $100,000, instead of the government taxing you on $100,000 and saying, oh, you owe us 25 grand, you have $50,000 in write-offs. They're only going to tax you on $50,000, and you will owe much less. But if everything's under your personal, the taxes are a bit different. They don't have as much tax breaks if you don't have a business set up.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. And one other thing, with the LLC, you have the ability to blank on the term. Oh, do business purchases as well. So like, if your business requires you to like drive, let's say, a lot, right? You could purchase a car under the business name if you're making revenue. You could purchase phones and cell phone lines. So all these things could be under the business name. So that also helps too. Yeah, so LLC definitely something to do. It's fairly easy to set up. You could go to irs.gov, get your EIN for free. You just download the PDF and it has your EIN number. And then you register your business at a state. You could register at any state, actually. One of the easier states to register your business in is Wyoming. You could just do it online. So once you have your EIN and you register your business at a state with a registered agent, you are official. You're like officially a business. So what that means is, you get that state registration, you can take that, go open up a bank account. You can take that EIN and get a business credit card. They're still going to be connected to you just so they know who owns the business, but with the EIN and the state registration, you're able to start operating as a business. That was a great question, and definitely related, and a good question. Any other questions?
So can you touch on invoice financing?
Yeah. That slide still up? Yeah. All right. So it says if you're able to negotiate a need for cash sooner than the time you're able to agree upon with your customers, consider invoice financing, also known as accounts receivables financing. So buys invoice as a discount to the advance total amount or portion of your outstanding invoices, and you'll repay the amount plus interest after you receive the invoice. So yeah, so you let's say sold a service, right? And similar scenario, let's say the money that was not coming until 3 months down the road. So there's certain financing companies that will say, okay, we'll bridge that gap. We'll give you this money up front, right? Basically, it's a loan. We'll give you this money up front so you have the like a way to operate your business in the meantime, but we're going to charge you interest, right? So you might be waiting on $30,000. They'll give you the $30,000, and then they'll charge you like 8% interest on that until you get that money in and pay them back. And I think that's like the traditional. Let me see what they have here. Yeah, they kind of walk through it here. So one of the main things too is you're literally giving the lender that the invoice that you have. So the invoice is saying that you billed or you have an agreement from someone, right? They agreed to give you X amount of dollars, right? So you're going to them with this invoice so that they know it's already been agreed upon. I think that's one of the big things to point out too. The invoice financing is backed by the fact that you're supposed to get this money, like your client or whoever has agreed to pay this money. So yeah. But definitely it's something you would want to pay back as as soon as possible. And an invoice, Gian, that's basically, as a business owner, an invoice is what you would send to get money from whoever your client is. So if they agree and they say, oh, hey, well, we'll hire you for the next year, you say, okay, then you would generate an invoice for them. All right, so I'm going to do this service for you for this amount of time for this price. So that's your invoice that you take. They take that, they sign it, they send it back to you, right? So that's your invoice. So if you have an invoice agreement for $100,000, you can go to the bank, to the lender, and say, hey, I got someone that says they're going to give me $100,000 over this course of time, but I need money now, right? So that's how that works. Leon, that's not in your department, right? You doing the invoice financing?
No. You was mentioning the credit, so that the credit is my line of business. The line of credit is business loan.
Okay. But great question, Gian. Thanks for asking. All right. All right, let me get the survey for tonight in the chat for you all. All right, guys, we are making progress. We're coming on to the second half of this program, of this cohort. Can't believe how much time is passing. All right, a couple things I wanted to mention. One, the gala. So if you guys haven't heard, if you guys please check your emails. We have the S.O.A.R end of year gala coming up. So the gala is a time for where we get all of you guys together. You guys get to hang out in person. The board members are there. Students from different cohorts. So we have the spring cohort, of business and entrepreneurship graduates, the graduates from the summer cohort, and then the graduates from the fall cohort are all there. So basically, we're celebrating you guys, right? We're celebrating all of those that completed the course. We're giving out the awards and everything like that. So it's a great time. Please, 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 if you can, check it out. Have your family buy their tickets. You guys are free for the gala, but family and friends will just buy a ticket. So S.O.A.R is a nonprofit, so the ticket purchase goes towards raising funds for S.O.A.R. So those funds pay for things like the awards you get for for different activities we do. S.O.A.R does college tours, right? We did Lincoln College this year and Delaware State University college tours. So if you guys are coming up on that time where you want to check out some colleges, we'll be doing that again next year. Surveys in the chat, so you guys can fill it out. So yeah, please, 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 we'd love to see you all at the gala this year. We had a blast last year, and we stepping it up even more this year. So it'll be cool to see everybody at the 2023 gala. You guys say gala or gala? I say gala.
I say gala.
You could drop it. Say gala. Who's that?
Me, baby.
Oh.
Gala, gala. Tomato, tomato. Potato, potato. All the same.
I say gala. I believe based on the formal English, it was an extension of the word being gay as in happy.
Yeah.
It's a gala. It's a joyous occasion.
Yes. I want to just really quickly echo what Professor JR just mentioned about the gala. It is our end of year, one of our second to last end of year event, but it is a celebratory event where we recognize all of our scholars for the entire year. So we have our spring series, we have our summer series, and we have our fall series. You guys are part of the fall series, so both the fundamentals and advanced. I'm not sure, JR, if you mentioned about the top scholar selection. We didn't talk about who, but as far as just the fact that there has been a selection made. And so, we honor our top scholars, we honor all of our scholars, right? So we want to make sure that you all are in the building. We're going to have our end of series graduation, which will be virtual. That'll happen, I believe it's on the 4th or the 5th of December. And then the following Saturday will be the gala. So lots to celebrate, lots to be, grateful for and proud of. You guys, you're doing it. We stepped it up a notch, right? So there's a lot more information, a lot more involved, a lot, more of a deeper dive into a lot of the material. So kudos to Professor JR. Once again, phenomenal class. And I see you guys are really interested in knowing a lot more about budgeting and finance. So that's great because you're going to need it. Right. So just make sure that I sent out the email before, and I've also sent out the WhatsApp, the message in WhatsApp about the event, the gala. So I sent out the link. If you guys did not receive that, I'm going to be sending out another link. So look out for that. But we definitely need you all to register or to RSVP rather by, I believe we said the 25th of November, right? So we can get an accurate head count. Again, the ticket is free for all of our scholars, your parents and your family, friends. Invite everybody to come out. It's going to be an amazing event. We got a lot that we have in store for you guys. Exciting time. And like Professor Vera said, we had an amazing time last year, and it's going to be even more amazing this year. So yeah,
so we're talking talking live music. We're talking great food at Rutgers University. So the gala is held at one of the Rutgers University locations. This is at one of the Newark campus locations. We're talking, we're gonna have some guest speakers there to, to encourage you guys and to share a bit of their stories. But also my favorite part of the gala is really just getting to see you all in person and you all getting to connect with each other in person. That's also good. And it's right around Christmas time. And there's some other things that we're gonna leave as a surprise, but there's some things that you would definitely want to be in the building for. I'll just put it that way. That will also be going down the gala. Like, hint, hint, wink, wink. You want to be in the building for the gala for sure.
Absolutely.
And yeah, have your family come out, right? Parents, cousins, uncles, everybody. Tell them want to come out. The more the merrier, and it basically is also a fundraiser with the tickets. So next up we have, so for next week, Tuesday, you're gonna have Dr. Mario Gray. No, he says call him Mario, but he's a doctor, right, Rosie? Is he?
No.
Dr. Mario? No? I know, I thought it was a doctor. My bad. All right. I'm giving him a whole nother title. So Mr. Mario Gray, he is in the Air Force with Rosie. He'll be speaking on credit mindfulness. So he takes what you guys touched on with credit with Tamara in the first one and goes deeper, right? So he's gonna go through everything like credit score, what is it, how does it work, and why is it important? Why is it the way that it is? And so that's a really great evening on Tuesday. Next week, Thursday, you have business writing. So with Miss Crystal Morgan, and then with our CEO on the 21st, you got resume building. So there's a class on that. And then for for the 22nd, you have perfecting communication through presentations. So that will be with my wife, Miss Latoya Dawkins, and basically that will be going over, oh, we lost Brianna. So that won't be going over, just finalizing the look and feel of your presentation, kind of going over like do's and don'ts, best practices, like how do you present, how should it look, formatting and things like that, where you really get a chance to finalize your presentation for the end of class. Hey, Brianna. So the end of class presentations will be on the 28th of November. Right, so just note that the end of class presentations on the 20th of November. In the emails that go out, we did put the end of class document in there, so you can go through the document. If you have any questions about what your end of class presentation should be, what needs to be in there, please ask us and let us know if you have any questions. But just to talk through it briefly here, you're gonna, for those of you doing the business pitch, is everyone here doing the business pitch? I think so, right? I think you guys are all business. So be ready to present your pitch in a presentation form. So that's a PowerPoint, a Google slide, some kind of presentation that you can click through. You have 3 to 5 minutes, so up to 5 minutes, right? It shouldn't be super short. So 3 to 5 minutes is that sweet spot. So it's not an elevator pitch, right? So we don't want to hear you give us 2 paragraphs and you're done, right? This needs to be 3 to 5 minutes. And in this PowerPoint, you can have photos or videos if they're relevant, right? You wanna have a strong opening. You wanna share the purpose, the benefit, the offering of your services and businesses, and have a strong close. So essentially, this is taking what you started with the elevator pitch and going a lot deeper, right? When you had the 60 seconds, you could just kind of had to get to it real quick. With this, it's like, no, show us an example of your product, right? Or talk us through what your service is. Walk us through in detail, more detail of the costs, right? That not the cost, sorry, not your business costs, your pricing, right? So what tiers do you have and why, or how do you charge, right? You could spend a little bit more time on your backstory, right? You could spend a whole minute or two saying, hey, this is who I am. This is why I'm doing this business. This is what this business is about. You have a lot more time to just be dealt in your business pitch. So Up to 5 minutes. So definitely take some time over these next few weeks, start putting it together, practice, right? Time yourself, like clicking through the presentation and see how long you're taking, if you're too quick, if you need to take more time, if you need to slow down. So that's the goal of the end of course, is that you're doing, a strong business pitch. And what this will be used for in real life is, you know, at some point in time, you can use these fundamentals to raise money, right? You might have family that can invest in you, but they probably want to see something. Like, did you sit and think this out and get a plan together, right? So imagine you go to your rich uncle or aunt and you're like, here's my business, here's my plan, boom, 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 my slides, my numbers, everything. They're just gonna be like, all right, here's the money, right? They're gonna hand it over. So when you have a strong pitch and a strong everything's together, it does help you raise money. Um, and make your dreams a reality. And but then also, even if you're not raising money, it just helps you, right? Have your plan and have your purpose all mapped out. So is everyone able to do the survey? We're all good on that? Cool. All right, I will give you 5 minutes back unless anyone has any questions. If not, have a good night.
This
So when should we start
Yeah.
this project, the
You
presentation?
can start as soon as you can start putting it together now. It's just due, on the 22nd, you guys have to present. But you could start putting it together now.
The 22nd or the 28th?
Oh, my bad. The 28th.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. I also was going to make a suggestion too. In lieu of, in the absence of us doing the mentor hour or a half hour, if you all want to work amongst yourselves, we do have a scholar hour or scholar Zoom link that we can provide to you guys if you want to kind of put something together yourselves and get online and just kind of put your presentations before each other and see how well you fare with that. You absolutely can. So just let us know, like, if you guys are keeping in contact with each other and you say, hey, Miss, Professor JR or Miss Latoya or Miss Rosie, we're going to get together as a group and we're going to, just kind of hash out our presentations amongst each other. So can we have the Zoom link? We'll be glad to give that information to you guys. We actually welcome it. We encourage it. That's what you guys are here to do as well, right? So you guys are here to encourage each other. So if you want that information, just let us know.
I had a question. Yeah, I had a question about Rutgers in particular. Do y'all have like a connection to the school, or y'all just have y'all been
there? Miss Rosie used to work there. Was it 8 years, Rosie?
8.5.
8.5. Don't forget her 0.5. And my wife works there currently.
I was just asking because I was interested in going there because I'm a senior.
Okay. Rosie, you got any connections to that?
Oh, I would love to go there for a college tour because I haven't been there yet, but I heard a lot of good things about it.
What campus are you looking to apply for? The Newark campus or New Brunswick?
Camden or the other one.
Camden? Oh, that's down South Jersey.
Yeah.
You trying to go that far down?
Oh, well, I live in Philly, so it's also one that's across the bridge.
Right. Okay. Yeah, so I used to teach in the Camden location as well. So I guess it depends on what your major is too. Like, what are you majoring in? Do you have to do any of the pre-test or the prep test for it? I forget what that's called, but if you've done like the SATs or anything like the placement test, have you reached out to anybody to do like a college tour? But we can definitely talk offline about it if you have any more, any additional questions about that. And I can see, who I may have a connection with to get you there.
Okay. When I talked to the Okay, but I just wanted to say this. The advisor that I talked to, she said that I would definitely be like a candidate to go there if I was to apply.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first you gotta apply. Have you applied?
No, because I want to make sure my recommendations and everything is like perfect,
Okay.
perfect, and all of that
Okay.
before I submit.
All right. Well, you got to get on it because you don't have that much time. You got a 1 semester before you graduate, and then the next semester would be yours, the fall semester of 2024. Right. So we got to get on the ball with that. So definitely, whatever you need, just reach out to me separately. Send me an email, or Miss Toya. Send one of us an email, and we can definitely see if we can get you on the right track. Especially for Camden, because I do have some people who work in Camden that I'm still affiliated with. So definitely, if you're looking for that particular campus, and it's a smaller campus, I actually really like that campus. So yeah, definitely reach out if you have any questions. Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. All right, Professor J, I'm about to hop off and hop on this other Zoom call for Bible study. Have a good night, everybody.
All right, y'all. We all good?
Have a good night.
All right. Have a good night.